Hello, and welcome to the Salvation from Destruction podcast. On today's episode, I got my good buddy, Paul Baio. Paul has been in the restaurant business for over 30 years. He started helping his family at Palermo's of 63rd Street in Chicago when he was only 13 years old. Paul owns and manages 3 restaurants. The original Palermo's on 63rd Street in Chicago, Palermo's of 63rd Street in Frankfort, Illinois, and Palermo's of 63rd Street in Merriville, Indiana. Between 1970 and 2004, Palermo's has been recognized for having some of the best pizza in Chicago by several food critics and local news outlets. Paul and Palermo's were featured on WGN Chicago's Best twice, once in 2016, and the other time was in 2021. Palermo's has won 2 awards for having the best pizza in the south suburbs of Chicago. And in 2023, Palermo's was featured on Barstool Chicago on Eddie's top 8 pizza places in Chicago. So I'd like to welcome to the show my good buddy, Paul Baio. How you doing, my friend?
What's up, buddy? Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. It's just crazy, like, how everything kind of came full circle for us. My family's been going to the Palermo's on 63rd Street in Chicago for decades. I mean, since I was about 4 or 5 years old. We've spent, holidays there. We spent birthdays, graduations, and retirement parties, and everything in between. Our kids started in school together in pre-K, and that's kind of like where our families really met.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Like you said, you knew my Uncle Joe, and like, who would have known? I mean, and then when we met each other at pickup, I think it was pre-K, right?
Right,
we just hit it off. You came up to me, introduced yourself, and then it just happened that you knew my family before you even knew me. It's amazing.
My wife and I, when we were dating, we would go in there a lot, and it seemed like every week we would order the food there in the restaurant. It was absolutely fantastic. And then your Uncle Joe would come out and talk to us a lot and sit with us, actually. And that restaurant really, really makes you feel like family, besides having just fantastic food.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And your family is definitely the epitome of the American dream. I want to just dive right into that really quick because go ahead and tell the history of that restaurant, because it's a great story.
We started in 1961, and my grandparents came from Sicily. In 1961, they opened a small pizzeria on Campbell. So it was east of where we're at now. And then in 78, 69, we moved to that 63rd Street location. So all in, over 60 years in that area by the Midway Airport area. And, it's amazing we're still surviving after COVID. But, yeah, we have diehard customers, and they just keep going on. Their kids and their kids go on. And, my grandparents can speak any English. My uncles had to learn a little bit. And then they had people to help them start the restaurant. And they're always grateful for the people that saw the goodness and what they wanted to do. And they would help them, whether it is give advice about how to get this permit, that permit. And they kind of just helped them put it together. So after the 80s, a lot of people liked us because of our sweet sauce and our homemade dishes. So like you said, we've been on a couple newspapers and Chicago's Best and everything like that. My uncles would take me, put me on the counter, teach me how to make the sauce when I was 12 years old. And I loved it. My mom and dad, they always were positive with me, and I love them to death. My dad was in a furniture business, and I liked the furniture business. He was actually on 65th and Pulaski. So what I would do is I would help him in the morning, and then at 10, I would walk to 63rd in Hamlin, and I would make pizzas the whole day. So, and I kind of liked it better because I got to talk to people, and I love doing both. But I fell in love with pizza. So ever since then, I worked there, and then I actually got my degree in car design. And in the summers, I would come back and work at the pizza place. So like you said, I've been doing it since I was 12.
So one of the interesting things is your sauce. Everything in that restaurant is absolutely fantastic. Me personally, when I used to go into the 63rd Street location in the city, for years, I would always get the chicken limon, and my wife would always get the manicotti. Then we would always leave with a pizza to go, Like you said, one thing that is very unique about that place is the sweet sauce. Is it true that you said that recipe is highly secretive, and then when you and your uncle make it, your uncle doesn't let anybody, and kind of like Willy Wonka? Is that what it is? Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So Frank is the only Palermo brother left, and he's very proud of what his family made. So my grandma started the recipe, and then my uncles kind of evolved it, and we keep almost everything the same. But the thing with my uncle is he won't let anybody in from 9 in the morning to 4 p.m. He doesn't care if it's Greco supplier, whatever it is. There's $8,000 worth of product in that truck. They're going to wait. They know not to pull in at 10 in the morning because they'll be there for 6-7 hours. So, and
Holy cow.
New suppliers would come, and they'll knock on that door, and they'll be knocking and knocking, and Frank won't budge because it is like Willy Wonka. Nobody comes in, nobody comes out. But when he's done with us, they'll open up. And, I've had distributor owners call me and say, well, what's going on? And then my uncle's like, tell them to take the truck back. Take it back then. I don't want it. And they're not going to lose $1,000. He doesn't mean it to be rude. He put his whole heart and soul in this. I just want to talk about my Uncle Frank. He actually has his doctorate degree from the University of Chicago. So he's a doctor, which is ridiculous. And I always give him props to this. He decided to stay in the pizzeria business like I did, but he sacrificed his whole life for this sauce and this recipe and everything. And then at night, he would go to class. And he ended up getting his doctorate degree. He actually wrote 2 books in Italy.
Really?
So he's an author as well. I look up to him and my Uncle Joe. They're everything to me. Fathers. I love my father too. He always is positive, but it's like having 3 dads. And my Uncle Ben too, God rest his soul, he passed away. But all these uncles influenced me to be who I am now. They would be so happy if you came in and you're like, oh, this is so good. That just made their day. And they would sit out there and talk to you more. And that's one thing that we take pride in, that our customers are happy and they keep coming back.
I know I've come back for decades, and even when I moved out close to your Frankfort location, and whenever we would order pizza, everybody would be like, okay, where are we ordering pizza? I don't even have to ask that anymore because it was Palermo's.
Right.
And all of you, everything from your mom to your uncles, and you're always at your restaurants, all three of your locations. You guys just don't open them and run it from, but behind the scenes. You guys are on the front lines of making sure that the quality is there. You guys are making sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. You're leading from the front. It's got to be just such an exhausting but yet a rewarding job. But it shows your hard work and your love and your care for that business is key to its success and why it is always top quality.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm glad that it shows. The most thing is that it's gratifying. At the end of the day, it sounds funny, but if we do a wedding and the bride texts me, hey, the food was amazing. We've been to so many weddings, and food is key in a wedding, and you guys just made my whole wedding. In your field, when you help people and feel good inside, then you're like, I did my job. And I know this is something totally different, but it gives that same gratification and then inspires you to keep doing better.
And you have 3 restaurants. I mean, how stressful is that to manage the 3 restaurants, the people, all of the supplies? You run all 3 of them. I know your Uncle Frank is still at the one in the city.
Yeah.
What's that like? I mean, what's your day look like?
It's so funny because it's funny that you say this, because as people know me, I'm not the most organized person in the world, but
you can't tell.
Well, I know. And that's what some of my other buddies say. Hey, it works, whatever you're doing. But you're absolutely right. So, and this is crazy. Before I started to slow down a little bit, I feel like I have to be at every location every day. And the reason why we opened the Frankfort one is because everybody moved out this way. But at the same time, we want to keep 63rd because it's where everything started. It's the original location. It's almost like your kids. You want to be at all your kids' events, That's our baby. Like, we got to make sure every location's good. It is sometimes a nightmare. Like, I love it to death, but I will go to 63rd, 6 in the morning before Uncle Frank comes, make sure everything's good, make sure the coolers are working, maybe start the dough for Uncle Frank, and he always wants to finish it. Then I know that's okay. Then I'll head to Indiana and make sure if they have any parties or anything, make sure everything's okay. And then I'll end my day in Frankfort because I live in Orland. So I'll kind of do like a circle. And it is challenging, but like in everybody's job, they got challenging stuff and you somehow make it work. When I was listening to your story, I want to touch upon you and your crew and all your friends. I don't know how the heck you did it too, but you find a way. And I just want to give props to you. When I listen to some of these things with Dave and Larry, the things you guys went through is like something that I can't even imagine. Going on with 2 hours of sleep and trying to crack the case and do all that stuff. It takes a lot out of you. And I want to tip my hat to you because you're one of the most humble, loyal people I know. And you inspire me for that. It kind of keeps me going and do the stuff I do. I can relate that you put your heart and your soul into your job because you care about the people and you care about their families. And what you're doing here is great because people are inspired by your stories. But when I hear your stories and you tell me about stuff and leadership, and if I could take part of that and put it in some kind of restaurant way, I do, whether it's eating Targets at like 2 a.m, because on Black Friday, they're up all, and I know that they have to eat. So I'll call Felicia or Danny and, hey, can you guys come at 1 a.m? And if you ask somebody like, hey, can you come at 1 a.m? You would think they're like, no, dude, I'm going to be sleeping. But no, right away, they're like, since I showed them respect, they'll show you respect. So they'll be like, I'll be there, Paul. Whatever you need, I'll be there. And that allowed me to do orders. We get a couple hours of sleep here and there. And we do it because we have a couple markets. They like our food. So I want to make them happy. But if you take care of your crew, they'll take care of you. That's one thing I learned.
And it doesn't matter, really, if you're in law enforcement, doesn't matter if you're in the restaurant business, doesn't matter if you're in the plumbing business. All the stress is subjective. We're all subject to stress. And it's what you do in that stress and how you hold yourself during that stress is what will make or break you. And I do think some of the sacrifices that you make, being away from your family and working those long hours, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning and maybe not getting home till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, those are the sacrifices that you make to be successful. So it's all the same lesson, whether it be you're in the restaurant business or whether it be you're in law enforcement or in the plumbing business, whatever the case may be. It's that hard work and sacrifice that you make, and people notice that. And the way that you treat your employees, they're always watching you, whether it be your kids, whether it be your employees, they're watching you. Are you just sitting in your office and you're just kind of like barking orders from the back room? And they're the ones that are out there and they're the ones that are working while you're just sitting in your office with your feet up. Or are you the one that's going to get in the mud with them? And if you have to jump on a fryer or you have to make some pizzas. When I was talking to you the other night, you were out there delivering pizzas and you're the owner of the restaurant. Some people might just say, hey, you're the restaurant owner. You shouldn't be out there delivering pizzas. But hey, you do whatever needs to get done. And I think that is what makes someone successful, by treating your people well and just checking in with them. A simple buddy check. Hey, how are you? If you know somebody's going through something, hey, how are you? What's going on? How can I help you? And just being an ear. It's that they could talk to you, just to know that they can call you and that you're there to support them. It just goes a long way to try to help these people. And then when you make those sacrifices for them and you take care of them, because they're out there, I'm sure, you work a lot of festivals, they're out there running back and forth. And I know your employees, great people, dedicated people, always great customer service. Whenever I'd walk through the door, my wife would walk through the door to pick up a pizza, always smiling, always saying hello. Your mom, everybody's, God bless her too, always saying hi. She was always behind the counter. I remember her even from when I was a kid working at the 63rd Street location. I remember seeing her around, and she always remembered me, which your mom sees probably thousands of people over the years, and she would always, oh, hey, remember, hello, how are you? And it was just always great to see her. But like I said, the reason why your people do stuff for you too is because you treat them well and you take care of them, and you're leading. And I just think that that's great.
I talked to a lot of business owners, and I have to disagree with some of them, because one guy told me, because when you're kind of like in the industry, you see somebody at a supply house and you start talking, and he go, you know what? We're talking about workers. He goes, don't be friends with your workers. Don't get into their personal life. They're not family. They're workers. And I was just like, I don't agree on that. And he goes, well, you'll see. But that's just a stupid thing. Like, because you work together with this person or these people, almost the whole day. You see your family like 2-3 hours at night. You're gone in the morning, and you're with these guys the whole time. Of course, you're going to treat them like family. I mean, that's what makes your career successful. That's what I think makes Palermo successful, because we have workers that have been with us for 30, 40 years. Even at Frankfurt, they've been there 15, 16 years. And I feel like you have to treat workers like family. I had some kids on their day off. They had problems at home, and they're sitting by the delivery table in the back. I'm like, you're not even working today. He's like, yeah, but I just like to be here. But I got stuff going on. I'm like, oh, that's fine. I just want to make sure that you're not scheduled bad. He's like, no. I just want to hang out. And I love that. If they can come in because they fit family. So if you got a business owner that says keep your workers far away from your personal life and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't agree on that. And I think you're the same way. You know, you probably have some that disagree with us, but that's their opinion. I mean, I feel like this makes your environment better.
Yeah, I can't agree more. And you don't have a high turnover, it seems like. And when I would go in there all the time, it seems like it would be the same people behind the counter. It would be the same people, you know, that are in the back cooking the pizzas or cooking the food. And that just says a lot about who you are and who your family is. Just some things I wanted to ask. What are some of the biggest challenges that you face in the restaurant business? Would it be suppliers? Would it be getting workers? What is the biggest challenge that you face as a restaurant owner?
So lately it is staffing. I have great people, and they're people that have been there 15, 10 years, but sometimes you need more than 3 or 4 people that have been there. Some of the kids call off and stuff like that. So like we're talking about the delivery, in any moment in your business, you might be making pizzas, delivering. You might be trying to fix the oven with the pilot because, you know, it's slammed and 2 ovens go out. By the time you call the repair guy, he's like, I'll be there in 3 hours. Well, you're going to lose a couple $1,000s in 3 hours. So it's stress. You can lose so much because I always tell my workers, like Murphy's Law in the restaurant business, it's all the time. The busiest time, the phones will go out. Your driver gets in a fender bender and you got 15 deliveries. And then the other driver went to go help him and he got snow. It's like, you can't even make this stuff up. And then there's days where you kind of, just like your job and everybody else's job, I just can't do it anymore. But then that's where your faith comes in, and tomorrow is going to be a better day. So you just got to hang on no matter what. And then I think in life too, somebody told me life is like a roller coaster. It's like a water raft ride where you're constantly hanging and hanging. You're almost falling out. And that's how the restaurant business is. And that's how your field is. And you just hang on. And then right when you think you're going to fall, all of a sudden the sea calms. And that's exactly what happened, because everything will go wrong one day. But then you got another day where, you know, people are calling, hey, the pizza was really good today. And your worker's like, hey, I could stay a little longer, Paul, if you want to go see your son's game. And my manager, like Stephanie or like Danny, even like Jackie and all of them, Felicia, Kevin, they'll be like, oh, go ahead, just go. And to me, that means so much, because you have these bad days. And then when it's not too busy, they try to be like, go ahead, go. It's a great thing. So you do have worst case scenarios, but then one day it'll be better.
Yeah. The other question I wanted to ask is, was there anything that you wish you knew prior to opening up your business that you know now?
That's a good one. So I really didn't know how much hard work it really is. And a lot of people get out of the restaurant business because, I'll be honest, I don't make as much as a lawyer. I don't even make as much as some professors. And so the return is not as much as what you put in. But like you said, the legacy and the tradition. I do it a lot for the tradition of my family. Like my boys, it's so funny. They got like the Palermo's bracelets and stuff, and they're proud to wear it because they knew what our grandparents went through. And it's kind of like a legacy. And my Uncle Frank dedicated his whole life to it. And the hard work I see he's almost 80 years old, and he does not miss a beat. And he makes dough, makes sauce every day almost. That Wednesday, though, that's our day where we make most of it. That's the secret day. But what I'm saying is, I didn't think it'd be that much work, and it really is a lot of work. And if I would have known that, I probably wouldn't open as many. But we got a lot of good crew. A lot of family members help me now. It works out. But I didn't think it was going to be that, you know. And you know, you talk about hardships. It's also with the holidays. I've never been home on a Christmas Eve in 30 years. I haven't been home.
I was going to ask you about that. Really, it's been that long that some of the sacrifices that you make, that you're.
Yeah. And it's kind of like you. I remember you were talking about the girls, how you missed a little part of, you know, part of their lives, but they know that you love them and you're always there for them. And Kelly understands, you're doing this to help people, and a lot of families don't understand that, and we're blessed to have, wives and kids that my kids never got mad at me that I'm not there Christmas Eve. And Ella doesn't. Some days she's just like, I wish you were here. They know, hey, Christmas Eve is Dad's busy day. He gets like 60 orders, and he doesn't sleep that whole day to make everybody's Christmas Eve better. And I'm happy to do it because it's just great. But I'm waiting for that one day that I could be here Christmas Eve. And I know one day it'll come. And, and speaking of that, like, I was about you, Andy, but I feel like you wanted to make sure all your guys are good. And so I'm constantly like that. But when I got hurt, I learned that to leave it up to God and the people that you trust. So even though I know they can handle it, I feel like they need me. I won't cook because like I can't do it without. When I got hurt, and I'll get into that in a little bit. When I got hurt, so happy that I was able to come back on Christmas Eve because he said I could not do it without you on Christmas Eve. Now I have, great managers and great cooks that I think they could.
Right.
And I felt like that kind of motivated me to come back and, be with him.
What are some things that you do? Because it's got to be stressful, that job and managing and owning 3 restaurants. What do you do to relax when you do at that rare time where you can just kick back and relax? What do you do?
Yeah, it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre that you mentioned that because with the answer I'm going to give you, you're going to go, what the heck? But I think you might be able to relate. So me and you like to go on jogs, right? It's funny, when I'm stressed out, I'm going to another location, I will pull into a strip mall. And this is so weird. I'll pull the car and park and I'll run, whether it's in Payless or whatever, and I'll run like randomly. One time I was on LaPorte going to Frankfort, and Jackie, my manager, is that you freaking running on St. Francis?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but it clears my mind. Before I get in there to decompress, I would run. And then my wife's like, why don't you run around the block? I'm like, well, because I'm going to the location. If I don't have time to go to the gym, I'll just run like in the wooded area there. I kind of run at 63rd because, you see this guy running, you're like, what the heck? But I would do that and then I would feel better. So that's like one of my decompressions is just to run, put the earphones on and just start thinking. Yeah. We thrive on that stuff, man. That's just, motivation is going. So yeah, I would do stuff like that. And it's really bizarre because my wife's like, that's how you relax. She's like, I hate running. I'm like, yeah, but it's not just physical, it's mental. So like it makes kind of like in your own place, like you're away from everything. You turn your phone on silent just for 20 minutes if you're doing 1.5 miles or 2 miles.
Yeah.
And I get in the car. Sometimes I got to go home and take a shower. But if I don't have time, then you do an Italian shower, one of these.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just go in and get to work because it clears your mind. And I remember seeing you sometimes so sleepy picking up Tegan, and then you got to go take her here, and then Kelly's working. And then you got to go back and you're on 2 hours sleep and you're running. I feel like I'm like that. And when hearing your stories, sometimes you just have to like slow down. Even when you learn to do in detective work, slow down. Don't keep rushing. I do that. And then you kind of lose track of life. It's just crazy. Like it's just what we're designed to do, but we're not designed to do that.
Sometimes life gets your attention. And whether we want it or not. And to bring it to May of 2024, it seems like God got your attention. Life changed for you. Do you want to get into that a little bit?
Yes. It was it's something I like to share with everybody because it's one of the things that I never thought I'd go through. And being like how me and you are so active and like with our crew and our family and stuff. I mean, your whole life can change in a matter of seconds. I think it was a wake-up call for me to slow down. It was May 28th, 6 a.m. Now, there was a nest on my roof, and I saw these crazy birds going in. When I'm pulling in, I'm like, I got to get that nest out. And you don't think about like hiring someone to do it because I was always watched my uncles and my father-in-law. They do everything themselves. I've been up there before, but we had 2 caterings. And I remember my manager, Gianna, was going to meet me at the shop at 7 in the morning. So I told Danny to take off. I said, you know what, Danny, me and Gianna will knock these caterings out. A couple doctor's offices down the street. So what do? Mr. Handyman, take my ladder. I go up my roof. And I'm going to get this nest down. It'll only take me 30 minutes. I'll be at the Frankfort shop by like 7, and we'll knock these caterings out. So I wish I would have thought and slow down and say, hey, you're going to work in an hour. Why would you do this now? And I wasn't thinking. So my mind, we got blinders sometimes, and we got to do this, this, and this. So I go up there. I get the nest down. And then I remember around that time, there was a lot of hail damage. And I had all these guys knocking on my door. And they're saying, hey, there's all this hail damage. So I get the nest down. And then I'm going to the peak above my boy's bedroom just to see if there's damage all around where the metal meets the windows and all that. And it's almost 3 stories because it's higher than the second floor. So I'm on the highest tip. And it was wet and it was slippery. And I was fine the whole time getting nest down. But I slipped. And then from almost 3 stories, I fall. And all I could think about, this is it. And I keep going, and the momentum's coming. And then I land on the concrete on my heels. And it's not funny, but I actually landed like a cat. And I hit the concrete, not grass. I hit the concrete. And then I flew back and then to my right. And at that moment, I knew I didn't lose consciousness, but I felt like I had to get up. And it was adrenaline. I left my cell phone on my workbench, and I don't know why. I think because when you're up there, like grabbing the nest, it could fall off. And then, so I left it on my workbench. My garage was open, and I was by my pickup truck, and I fell on it, and I'm just laying there. And I pulled myself up by the side mirror, and I got blood everywhere. And my arm was broken, so I couldn't even move my arm. But I somehow made it, and I believe there was a guardian angel, and I believe that whether it's my grandparents, Uncle Joe, whoever it was, the Lord himself, I did not hit my head at all. And the doctors to this day don't understand how I did not hit my head. What ended up happening was I hit the ground so hard, I just bursted my vertebrae. It just burst. My heels got crushed. And then I broke 3 ribs here, 2 ribs here. And then my arm was just like broken in half, but nothing with my head. And after all that, I got up, I walked to my workbench, I grabbed my phone, and I called my wife. And I said, Ella, I'm sorry. And she's like, what happened? What happened? And I'm just like, I'm really hurt. I'm going to call my brother-in-law, who's 2 houses down, thank God. And I didn't even think about calling 911. I was just calling my family. And I knew not to call my mom because how she is, Andy, she would. So I called my brother-in-law. Right. And bro, you got to get over it. He's like, well, what's wrong? What's wrong? I fell off my roof. He's like, shut up. What, you fell off the ladder? I'm like, no, I fell off my roof. Now, at this point, I walked 10 or 12 feet into my garage, leaning against my workbench, calling my brother-in-law, and he comes in right away. And he's just like, oh, my God. You know, he sees blood, and I'm just like, right at this point, my adrenaline's gone, and I'm just shaking. I'm in shock. And he's like, let's get in the car. I'm like, bro, I can't move. I gave it all I got. He's like, I'll call the ambulance. The ambulance came within 5 minutes. First responders in Orland Park. Amazing. They came in, they ripped my shirt off. They gave me some kind of shot. And they said, you're going to be okay, but we don't know how bad your damage is. And they kept saying something about my spine because I couldn't move. Andy, dude, it was the scariest moment. Besides my Uncle Joe passing away, I literally thought I'm an idiot and I just ruined everybody else's life because I did something so stupid. So I'm just praying in this ambulance, and they got to take me to Christ because of all the trauma. They couldn't go to Payless. They went straight to Christ. Right in there, they did the scans, and that's when they found out all the damage that was done to me. And I remember my sister and my wife coming in crying. And I'm just thinking to myself, God, please help me. Like, even if I can't walk, like, please make me be okay, you know? And, you know, they put me in all these scans, and all I did was pray. And I've always been a religious man like you, but like at this moment, I needed him more than anything. And I knew he was there with me. And I kept picturing myself. And if you guys ever go through hard times, this is what got me through the whole thing. And I'll get in that in a second. I would just pray and pray and pray, because that's all you can do is, you just got God by you. And it turned out that the spine was going to be okay. And they told my wife and my sister, because at that point we didn't tell my mom yet, but God bless my sister and my wife, because they had to make decisions. Does he need surgery on his back? The doctor's like, yes. How about his heels? The heels look bad. We don't know if we can fix them. We might have to do 3 or 4 surgeries. And I just hearing this, but at the point I can't make decisions. So they made them for me. It turned out they were able to fuse my back. I'm able to walk, but the heels were so damaged that I wouldn't be able to walk for 3 months. Thank God that surgery, he did it in 7 hours, and he was able to do it in one shot, and he fixed them. There's 8 screws in this foot, 3 screws in this foot, and just the heel though. Nothing else broke, which is weird. No hips, no ankles, no knees, nothing broke. It's just the heels. But the heel is like one of those bones that is like the hardest heel. So the only bad thing the doctor was saying is that you're going to lose a lot of weight. You're going to be in the hospital. You're going to be bedridden for 3 months. And when he told me that, I was like, will I be able to walk? He's like, you're going to be able to walk because it's a miracle. He's like, I don't know anyone that fell 3 stories and is going to survive. And I just thank God. And the whole time I just pictured God, and anyone who's going through hard times, whether it's divorce or family problems or even broken like I was, you always got to picture God having his hand on your shoulder, because that's what kept me going through this whole process. And you can feel it. And that's what you got to do. You got to put your faith in him, because mentally it's going to be tough. And so I was happy that I'm going to be physically okay. It's going to be a long journey, but I was just grateful for that. So they did all the surgeries. It was like 7 hours and 4 hours, but they had to do it one day after the other day because my body couldn't handle all that in one day. So it was like 2 days, 3 days, I think, of surgery. Or no, 2 days surgeries. But he did the feet, did it together, which was great. Did the back. The arm, they said that they're going to let it heal itself because I'm in bed for 3 months. So what's the point of putting screws in my arm? And thank God, it's better than it's really good, actually. So going back to the hospital, that was a very humble experience. So I got through the physical part, even the first week with the surgeries. It was a lot of pain. It was on a lot of meds, but I survived that. But then you have to lean to your faith. And that's the one thing. I never doubted God, but I asked for his help more and more, because being in religious backgrounds, you always know that God is with you, but you never ask for more help. And that's what the one thing I did is kind of like you said, God, I'm giving it to you. It's in your hands. Because not only physically I'm going to be okay, but now I got to go 3 months without the restaurant and my family and taking care of employees and Noah. And that's a lot to process. And I just said, God, it's in your hands. Whatever you do, can you just make it happen? And I don't know how this happened, but my wife had meals for 3 months. All my friends, everybody was there for me. And it was so touching. I mean, you texted me almost every other day when you found out. It means so much to me. And then my boys would make the sauce with my Uncle Frank, and it was summer. So they were off of school. So if there was any time for this to happen, and not to say it's a good time, but it was a convenient time for my family because they'd have school. Elle was busier at work during the fall, and they somehow all worked it out. The restaurant, I didn't even have to worry about. They just said, listen, just heal, and we got this. And then I had managers that from 10, 20 years ago that would message, hey, you know what? I can come in and help, whether it's, Frank on 63rd or Frankfort. And I got like 6 messages, Ella said. She would check my Facebook, and she got them. And it's just amazing how we were talking about you do it for the people. They come back and they give it back to you. So with those 3 months, it was pretty bad. So I was at Christ for almost 2 months. And then after that, I couldn't even move. I couldn't even go to the bathroom. And you go from a guy who would be at the gym curling like 30 pounds, and they're telling me, no, you can only do 2 pounds. And you just feel broken. You're like, dude, what? And I can't walk. They're like, no, you can't walk. I go, can I do any therapy? Well, you're going to have to be in a wheelchair for a month. and the only thing you could do is move your leg up and down. And I'm like, it was surreal. Why did I do that? But then after you kind of realize, okay, so this is what happened. We can't go back. God has my back. He has that hand on my shoulder. I know it's going to be okay. My family's okay. My restaurant's going to be taken for my friends and workers and everybody. Prayers were crazy. There was people, my dad, hey, I heard about your son. And my dad's like, how did you know? It's all over the church and the bulletin. Everybody's praying for him. And I had pastors and priests from Parkview. One time, one of the pastors at Parkview, a good friend of mine, I didn't want to tell him where I was at. And then when I was because you know how I am, I felt embarrassed. I didn't want to know. So after Christ, I went to a nursing home for another month. And that was a whole nother experience. So I'm laying there, and sure enough, my buddy pastor open my eye, and he's standing right next to me. He's like, man, I just found out. And I'm like, how did you know I was here? He's like, I got my ways. And he talked to me, and we talked about God and how I told him I just said, God, it's in your hands. And he literally said, this is why God is good, because sometimes you think you can't handle. So you got a guy that can't move, can't walk, runs 3 businesses, which I thought were all going to fail. But I prayed to God to find a way, and he did. My mom and uncle are getting older, but everybody helped. My wife was working fest. My brother-in-law, who's a lawyer downtown, was delivering pizzas to the fest. My other brother-in-law has another pizza place.
Wow.
So I'm there, wherever. Yeah, my one brother-in-law and my other brother-in-law, they just all came together. My managers, Paul, you're lucky you're alive. We got this. The restaurant will be there. Your family will be there. Just concentrate on yourself. And that got me to heal. And the grace of God and my faith. And like I said, I never, ever asked God why. I just asked him for more help. Show me, can you help me make this happen? And not only did he perform a miracle on myself, but he performed a miracle throughout my whole life with my friends, like you guys, your support. Every other day you would text me, and I had bad days, and we all go through hardships. Like this was one of the hardest hardships I've been through. I had a buddy who got a divorce a month ago, and he calls me up. He's like, dude, it's over. Just listen. You got to lean on your faith. If I can survive a 3-story fall and physically was broken, literally I had to lift my leg and learn how to walk again. I was at Shirley Ryan for 3 weeks, learning to walk and move my arm again. And I'm like, you're going to get through this, bro. You just got to have faith. You got to put your heart into God and ask him, hey, it's in your hands. Stop stressing out. You can't stress out because it makes it worse. And that's what we have to learn how to do. Because I thought I can control everything. All 3 restaurants, I can control this, that. And then my father-in-law has a building in Tinley that I take care of too. So we talk about our lives getting all crazy. Sometimes I go to a pizza place, and then I would drop Joey to CJB, and then I'd go to 63rd. And like I was telling you, like this craziness, maybe that was a sign saying, hey, God's saying, hey, listen, I got your back. You have to put faith in me, and I will show you how miracles can happen. And I think that's what I took from it. And everybody out there who's going through hardships, hard times, you have to put your faith in God and say, God, it's in your hands. And that's something that I never really did. I never said, God, it's in your hands. I go, God, please help me, but I'm going to work harder here. If you just throw your hands up like you did when you were fishing, he'll find a way. Doors will open. Some doors will close. I couldn't do one fest, but I did 3 other fests when I was out. And one in the park called me up. They said, let's do it. We'll get you in here. I lost a lot of money on one fest, but these managers were all there from 15, 20 years ago. It was amazing. And then again, with all the support with my friends, and this is all God's grace. This is all God's doing, because, when you're good and you give back, you're going to get help. And that's what, this whole thing and this whole process of 3 months, they said I wouldn't be able to walk until, September. And then I started actually walking in August, a month early. And therapy, I would not miss a day of therapy. I would just move my leg like this, like that, do my 2-pound, and I lost about 70 pounds of muscle atrophy just laying there. And mentally, you're broken, you're in pain. But I knew there was light, like that raft you hang on to. I knew that it'll calm down, because it always does. You don't think it is. And I'll share with you guys when, that 3rd, 4th week, it was bad, bro. Because when you get tested in faith and you're on like all these painkillers and you're laying there, your mind starts tricking you. And even if you're going through a bad time mentally, there's demons and devils will say, hey, you'll never walk again. When I hear these stupid voices, and people might think I'm nuts, but with all these drugs, and you get this temptation to give up, it's over. Like your restaurants are all going to close. Your wife's going to leave you. You're not going to be able to walk again and stuff like that. And it's just like, what the hell is it? So what I did was I prayed, and I just prayed. And then it just stopped. That noise just stopped. In your weakest vulnerability, you're going to get temptation to give up and to think that you cannot survive, or it's too much damage. It's too many surgeries you went through. But then the other thing is when you pray and you say, God, please take this away. And then 2 days later, it just stops. And I got off all the painkillers, and I said, and some of that is the drugs that's doing it to you, but mentally you're thinking this is bad. And that's when you got to put your faith in God and let him guide you, guide your ship, and let you go on these paths, and things will work out no matter what, whether it's a divorce, whether you're fighting with your kids. It's not that bad, because you could have it much worse. And I've been blessed, and I thank God every day that I was able to get a second chance alone. And I just wanted to share this story with you guys. If anybody wants to message you and wants to talk to me that are going through hard times, I'll be more than happy. Not just like falling off a roof. It could be anything. I would just explain to them that you have faith. And there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's tunnels we all go through. There's going to be light there. It's just you got to be patient and believe in God, and he'll direct you that way. And that's what I felt what happened in my life. I'm starting to trust people more. And I trusted all my workers with my business, and that's what I did. I trust them. Now I just go to like Frankfort, and then I'm done for the day. Or one day I'll go to 63rd. So I learned how to slow down more and manage it. Like I said, it's just an amazing experience. Now, if I didn't fall off the roof, would I be able to do that? Probably no. I'd be doing the same thing, running the 3 restaurants, going and all in one day, helping my father-in-law with his building, and making pizzas, and going here and dropping the kids off and going to the basketball. So sometimes we just got to like prioritize and say, hey, you got to slow down and open your heart to God and say, hey, can you take the reins? Like you said this throughout all your podcasts. And I noticed that in every podcast, there's some kind of religious experience. And I'm proud of you that you're here and you're making this podcast, because it is God's thing. Like Donna said, you learned how to cope with stuff, and then you started this podcast that I think it's in God's hands. Like I think it was meant to be.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, that was an extremely powerful story, and that'll continue to inspire me. That's for sure. But have you noticed too, at least for me, it seems like life has also come back into focus. I don't know if you've experienced that as well, but for me, it just seems the little things I'm noticing, just being able to slow down and just sit with my kids and listen to their stories, and just hanging out with my wife, just going for walks, and just being able just to enjoy the little things, or just going out fishing. I just enjoy things a little bit better now that I gave my life to God, and my life has come back into focus. Have you experienced that as well?
Yes, I did actually. Now that I actually remember, you were talking about sometimes you're not in the moment because your mind's always.
Yeah, I lived like that for several years.
I feel like Kelly is almost programmed just like Ella. Like they can see through us, and they know we're not present because you'll be nodding, but then you're thinking about a case or something in your head, or I'm thinking about like this manager that's not going to show up tomorrow. And she's like, hello. And now I try to step back and, you know what? If he doesn't show up tomorrow, big deal. I'm going to take off and watch my kid on a Friday night. I did last Friday. I haven't taken any Fridays off before I got hurt. And I'm going to watch this game. And I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed Ella. And we actually had a conversation that was not just like me nodding my head. Yeah, you're in the moment, because I didn't realize this, but throughout my whole life, I wasn't in the moment because we're so caught up in everything. And you know what? Life is so short. I could have easily died on that roof, but God has things for us. God has for you. There's a reason why we're here, and he does take people away, and there's a reason why he does take people away. But I'm blessed that I'm able to walk. And those guys that can't walk, they could do amazing things and kind of be an advocate of surviving, because guess what? You can't walk, but you survived. And even if I didn't walk, I'd be so grateful that I can survive, you know? And you got people and friends like you, like there's days where I didn't want to get out of bed, but you would show me a Rocky clip. Because when I'm in that nursing home, it's just like, dude, am I really going to go roll myself down the hall just to lift my leg 3 times? And then Andy sends this text of Rocky. That's why I grew this thing out. He sent this text of Rocky in the rush and doing it in the barn, lifting. And I'm like, I'm going to move my leg up and down for about 100 times. I don't care. You have people around you when you go through these bends that you can lean on. And then there's a couple other guys like Kyle would text me funny things. My other buddy Jason would text me. You got to reach out to these guys because anyone's going through a hard time, they kind of don't feel like doing anything. They don't want to talk. They don't want to do anything. But if you just text them and say, hey, he's going to watch that clip. If he's having a bad day, he's still going to watch it. And that's what's very important when you're going through hardships, that you got people that you could to fall back on. You enjoy life better. It's a shame that we take this long. We should have done this when we were 30, but there's reasons why God does things. And I feel like we can, our kids are like 16, 15, 14. I was like, oh, I wish when they were like 6 and 7, I was there more because they more. And she goes, you know what though? They're only 14 and 15. She's like, you still could be there for them. And then I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're not 26 yet, and that's what what we have in common, whether it be business owners, plumbers, first responders, that we all go through these hardships and we all get caught up in this crazy thing, like with the scales you're saying and stuff like that. It just all makes sense. And you got to learn how to step back, relax, keep saying, maybe I shouldn't have done this, but it's done. And now you have to change your life. You have to be a better person. And then talk to other people. Like you're doing this podcast to help people like us, whether you go through hard times or tough times, whether sometimes you just feel like you don't have a purpose in life, because there's a reason why we're here. So we always have a purpose. And this is why the sauce thing, that kind of made me think of trying not to work as hard and to get your product out without making pizzas, like physically. Me and Danny dabbled with, you got it. There you go. So
of course,
that was
yeah. I gotta fly the flag. And good stuff, man.
Thank you.
The best.
And that was another way of thinking, like working smarter, not harder, because we're always grinding and working hard. So that was another way of kind of thinking outside the box, kind of like you did with this podcast and stuff, because it's not work for you. It's something that makes you happy because you're helping other people. And it sounds funny, but it's therapeutic when I make sauce. And if I jar the sauce and send it out and people get happy, it makes me happy.
It's great stuff. And I appreciate you shipping it to me. And especially my Chicago friends and people who listen to this back in Chicago, please stop in at one of the restaurants and grab this stuff, because I know you sent 3 jars. I think we ate 2 in 2 days. I mean, this stuff is absolutely fantastic, and you could make pizzas with it. You can put it in your pasta. You can do anything with it, and it's just really good. It's a good, sweet sauce. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, what other things do you have on the horizon? Do you have anything else going? Do you have any other plans going with the restaurants or with the food?
Yeah, you know what? What I'm doing is kind of keeping everything where it's at now. I know eventually Uncle Frank wants to retire. So if anything, I'm probably going to kind of scale back a little bit. And then with the sauce venture, I mean, it could be something that I won't have to work as hard. So I don't plan on opening any other restaurants right now. I think my hands are full. But the sauce venture is probably the newest thing that I'm getting into. And I got a lot of help with like all my friends and my managers, and it seems like a lot of people are liking it. So I'd like to concentrate more on this and my family. I'm just going to leave it in God's hands. Like, let him set the path for us, because God's with me. I know he's with me, but we don't really let him take the reins. And that's what I'm going to do with my life now, and let things fall into place. We're really big on catering. I know people like our pizzas, but there's so many weddings we do. We partner up with CD and Me in Frankfurt, and they have a bunch of venues. You can ask them if they want to have us there. They will let us cater. They have a select few caterers they use. Thank God, I'm grateful we're one of them. And then we also go to your house, of course. And then we cater up churches. We did 500 people at Parkview. We could do anything. We also do breakfast pizzas, French toast sticks. And it's funny because our pizza has a little bit of our sauce on it for the breakfast, and it's eggs and bacon. And it's something a little different. So if you guys want to do breakfast, we do breakfast.
That sounds good.
It's like breakfast pizza. That was Ella's idea. And then we do French toast sticks, breakfast potatoes, and fruit salad. So you could do it for breakfast. You just don't need to do it for dinners. We do any occasion. On 63rd, we still have the banquet. In Indiana, we have a banquet. Frankfort's really small, but that's where we do a lot of our catering because people like to do it in VFWs, CDME, their house, wedding venues. We went to the Legion and we did a couple weddings there. Go to palermos63rd.com. www.palermos63rd.com. You can message me on Facebook. And like I said, we do any kind of event.
Well, Paul, I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing your story. It's very powerful. And like I said, please, anybody who is especially up in the Chicago area, support Palermo's. They're a phenomenal family. All of their food is top shelf. All of their food is fresh. Everything from the wings to the pizzas to the sausage and peppers and everything in between. Check it out. And as always, too, I just wanted to say thank you again for everybody who's supported this channel. Please like and subscribe. My social media will be down in the description. And once again, Paul, I just wanted to say thank you for your testimony. Thanks for sharing your story. It was absolutely powerful. I wish you and your family nothing but the absolute best. Give your mom a hug for me. You know, she was always, she's always a sweet lady.
She's always asking about you.
Definitely say hi to everybody for me.
I will. And
definitely. And
you keep up the great work. I mean, just keep doing good things. And, I'm proud of you, man. And like I said, just keep doing good things, doing God's work. So, just keep doing your thing, man.